Welcome back, Smashers. It's Jansen here with my good friend Darren Lynch. So for those of you that are quite new to the channel, a couple of months ago, Darren and I did a video together, like a collaboration, a two-part series that was pretty successful. So we thought we'd give you guys an absolute treat and do another one. So for those of you that haven't seen Darren's channel, make sure you check it out. We've got a link for it in the description below. So we've just filmed the first part, which was talking about the highs of Amazon. So basically, we've both been selling we've both known about Amazon FBA for a year now. So we've been talking about the highs from the last year. And now in this video, it's going to be a bit more downbeat because, we need, for those of you that, don't know Darren, Darren's very similar to me. He's very honest and transparent. So we want to make sure that you guys understand that although there are a lot of highs about Amazon, of course, there are some lows. So in this video, we're going to be talking about kind of our lows from the last year. Now, to kick things off, my first low, or I'd probably say one of my number one lows, was getting a 1-star review, and it was probably actually my first 1-star review. So one of my highs of last year was getting my first 5-star, and unfortunately, I think a couple of days later, I got a 1-star. And I remember just being livid. I was so angry, and I wasn't actually angry. I think I was more upset, if anything, and disappointed, because you don't really realize before you do Amazon FBA just how important reviews are. And I think some reviewers don't understand that either. And this reviewer really went to town on me. They were just like, it was no holds barred. It was like, the product is crap. It's useless, absolute waste of money. And I think that's when I thought, great, I've got 1,000 of these in stock. That's it. I've probably just lost my money. So that was, a real low point for me. But to caveat that, and guys, I suppose with all of these lows here, there are going to be caveats. So the caveat was I responded to that review. I contacted the customer, and in reality, it didn't actually have an impact on my sales, because I think customers look at the highs, look at the positives and the negatives. So although it was a low for me at that point, thankfully, over the next few weeks or whatever, it didn't actually make a difference, and I managed to sell out.
Yeah, I think getting that first 1-star, or even the first negative, even if it's a 3-star or a 2-star, the first thing, it destroys your confidence in the product, because you think, oh, I've got something wrong here. But the other thing, you're then concerned that your product might stop selling.
Yeah.
But I think the thing to consider with your overall review score is how you stack up against the competitors. So, for example, if everyone else is in your niches has a 4-star average and you're pulled down to 4-star, you'll probably be fine. If everyone else is at 5-star, like I've got one product in a 5-star niche, I've just been pulled down to 4.5 stars, and my sales are pretty much ground to a halt. So reviews can be brutal, and that 1-star, I know when I got that 1-star on my first product, I would like Jansen, I was angry, probably a bit upset about it as well. Just wanted to smash out an email to the person, telling them to read the dimensions and
saying they're wrong. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, of course they're wrong, and the customer's always wrong. But I think what I've come to realize now, having received, unfortunately, quite a few negative reviews across my free products over the past kind of 6 to 8 months now, I guess, is it's going to happen. Some morning you're going to wake up, or during the day you're going to refresh your list, and you're going to see that negative review, and you've just got to accept it. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about getting negative reviews removed or contacting the customer, but my experience is that actually it's very, very rare that works. There's a couple of things. The first one is that people can post reviews from a different user ID. So sometimes it's very, very difficult to contact that exact customer. The other thing as well is a lot of customers opt out of communications. So if you do find the customer and email them, they might not ever get your message. And now Amazon have made it so hard to see the, when you're on a review on desktop, you get a comment link. If you've got a mobile, that link doesn't exist. So you can't even see that it's on a mobile that the seller has replied to a review. So now I used to kind of see a negative review and I'd approach it, right, I can get this fixed. Now I see a negative review and I just think, that's just another negative. Got to focus on getting more positive to drown it out. And I think realistically, if you go back to, I did a video on my channel recently talking about reviews in general. And I said, if a product has all 5-star reviews, they're probably fake. So you do actually need some negative reviews to make your listing look a bit more genuine.
That's a good way to spin it. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's no matter what we say, when you get your first 1-star review, it's not going to feel great. But the sooner that you get over that and that you realise that there is no such thing as a perfect product, someone's always going to find a flaw. Think of it like I've got my iPhone here. Like an iPhone's not a 5-star product. Does it mean that that Apple's not going to sell anymore? No, it doesn't. It's kind of just how you react to it, and you kind of think, okay, what you should do is look at the 1-star review and think, okay, can I actually take that advice or that criticism on board?
Yeah.
Can I go back to the supplier and make those amends? I mean, my second product got a 2-star review, which isn't quite as bad as a 1-star. I was still pretty annoyed, but what I did is I read the review. I went back to my supplier and they've implemented the change that the customer wrote down. And annoyingly enough, as you said, I contacted the customer being like, guess what? I've made the change and you can have a new one for free. And they just not replied. So,
Yeah. No, I've had a similar experience in that sense of taking the feedback on board and using it to improve your product going forward. So for one of my products, I actually spend about £1 more per unit now because I've implemented 2 enhancements that came from negative reviews. And now the amount of negative reviews I get is so minimal. So the extra £1 a unit just means now I get so many 5 stars and so few because I've ironed out 2 issues that a couple of customers had spotted. So always consider that, is it worth sacrificing a little bit of profit margin to enhance your product further? And sometimes it might not even cost you money to enhance your product. Your supplier might be able to make a change, especially if you try and put it, late on thick. This is an issue of your product. You need to improve this so your customers, so we don't have returns and stuff like that. So yeah, always think about how you can use those reviews in a positive way.
Okay, so the next low for me was probably when I realized just how many things Amazon likes to charge you for. It's not just the sales fee and the fulfillment fee. That's kind of what I thought it would be when I started selling. It's pretty much anything. If you get Amazon to do anything for you, whether it's issue a refund or provide a coupon, or of course do advertising, guess what?
That was the most shocking. Sorry, the coupon one. I was like, seriously, I'm going to discount my product and you want to charge me for a
It's
coupon?
insane. It doesn't even cost Amazon anything. So for those of you that don't know this, there's a way of promoting your product on Amazon where you can offer coupons. And effectively, what it is, you log on to Amazon, you search for the product, and it will say the price is £15, and then below it, it'll have a little orange box, and it will say £1 coupon. And all the customer has to do is tick that box when they buy the product, and it gives them £1 off. Now, to anybody else, you might think, well, that's not going to cost something. But to Amazon, they're like, this is an opportunity for us to make more money. So they charge you, I think, is it 25 pence or something? It might be more actually.
And then add VAT on top.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, oh, come on. And then, if a customer changes their mind about a product, unfortunately, some of them just tick the box and say it's faulty because it means that they don't need to pay to return it. And guess what? You have to pay for the return charge. So that was definitely a low point for me in terms of finding out how many charges there are. But it highlights the point that when you're doing your product research, you need to make sure that you've got healthy margins. And I would say minimum margin of 30%. You might think, well, 20% is absolutely fine. But by the time that you factored in pay-per-click advertising, coupon fees, refund fees, God knows what else Amazon's going to come up with in the future. But by the time you factored all those in, your margin is going to be like sub 10 or 5%. And that's when it's like, is it really worthwhile? Is it still profitable? So tip there for you guys is make sure that you've got at least 30% margin.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many charges from Amazon. And I've recently put all of my accounts into Xero, which is a piece of accounting software. And I've spent near enough £30,000 I've given to Amazon in the past 8 months. I mean, I think they've made more out of me than my overall profit. That's how much
No,
I've spent.
they will. I mean, it is a genius business model. They take zero risk.
Yeah.
It's hats off to Big Jeff, but it's frustrating. Okay, so the next low is one of Darren's, and that is deciding not to proceed with a product that he'd found after weeks, maybe even months of planning.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to reveal what the product was, even though I might still launch this product at one point. it will give you an idea of how I think about the product. But I think I found it around last April time. But I knew it was seasonal at the time, but probably would have a 6 month seasonality window, I'd guess. So I thought, okay, brilliant. This can work. I can get this in by June, July, get this launched and get a few months and just get my first product on the scoreboard, so to speak. But as I got to that stage where I was just about to place the order, I looked at the lead times, delivery times, and when I worked out, I thought this product isn't going to arrive until September. And you know what? That's actually was when my first product did arrive, was in the September. So my calculations were accurate. So spending months getting excited about this product and then going, oh, no, I'd spent a lot of money on samples as well. So the product was picnic blankets, and it's a fantastic niche, and it was dominated by one player.
Let me just write that down for my
picnic blankets.
Ideas.
And they were selling easily 300 a month, low competition, not a huge amount to distinguish between them other than design, other than the aesthetics. So I brought lots of samples in, and because they're quite heavy, it was costing me like $100 per sample to get delivered. So I think I had 5 different samples. I'd spent quite a bit of money. Well, in relative terms at that point, I'd spent quite a bit of money trialing this product.
Yeah.
And to make that decision, do you know what? This isn't the right thing to do. But the good thing is, from the early days, I've been tracking kind of multiple products, and I'd recommend this to anyone: is don't get all eggs in with one product. Always track multiple products, because there might be something that comes out of the sample process or the tracking process or something else. Like you might find out it's gated, for example, and decide not to proceed. So have multiple products going at one point, and then when you kind of pull that trigger, pick the one that you think is most viable and have something to fall back on. Because I had samples of another product and was able to launch that in the same time frame. But I'm glad I did that, because that product has been a huge success. It's sold all throughout the winter. It's sold out at the moment. I sold out a week or two ago, but hopefully it will continue to sell through the summer as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd say that's also an important thing to make sure you do when you're doing your research and you're deciding to do a product, is don't get emotional. A number of my students have put in like quite a large amount of time in finding a product and like getting samples and things. And then they've said to me, you know, the sample wasn't actually as good as I thought. But I'm so invested in this product. I really want to do this. And I just have to be like, look, you need to kind of forget that and just be like very black and white, and think, is this product actually going to work? If it's a half yes, if it's a I don't know, but I've invested, you know, a lot of time into this and I want to do it still, then it's probably a no. So I think it was pretty good of you to you know, have spent all money on picnic blankets. I mean, you've probably got enough now to have quite a few nice picnics this summer, but you're probably pretty glad that you didn't invest in that when it was Christmas and cold.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually kept a track of the sales over the Christmas period just to see. And they literally, honestly, even despite the fact it was Q4, the sales just almost ground to halt. I think the top seller was doing like 100 units a month. So it was the right decision to stop. And I've actually just pulled out of another product, which has had lots of samples for. And the main reason being is I've had to become VAT registered. So the price point that I was hoping to launch that product at, all of a sudden didn't become viable anymore. You know, the margins were already tight, and what Jansen said about making sure you've got healthy margins, I was already very, very close to that 30% threshold. And then once the time VAT came into it, I was like, this isn't going to work. And again, I think I'd gone through 3 rounds of samples on this. So I'd found 2 suppliers with 2 different designs I like. So I was going to launch 2 products in parallel. So both products I developed further, different colors, different. I can't really say exactly what they are, because I might still do something with them. So yeah, I'd made all these enhancements of these 2 products ready to launch, ready to go to market, and I've gone, this just isn't going to be the right thing to do at this stage. You know, the profit margins and the VAT together, I need to wait until I've got more buying power. You know, when I can buy 10,000 of these and drive the price down massively, maybe then that'll work. But at the time where if I buy 500 units now and VAT registered, my buying power isn't big enough to get the price point low enough to have a healthy profit margin.
Okay, so the next one is another low from Darren that I can also talk a bit about, but we'll let Darren go first, and it's about product suspensions. So what happened with that, Darren?
I've had 2 cases of this. The first one was with my first product. I just finished selling the first batch, so I was out of stock at the time, so that wasn't really a big issue. And I got an email from Amazon. If you get an email from Amazon, your heart normally skips a beat, because it's very often bad news. So I got this email, and it said, your listing's been suspended due to a high return rate. I was like, what's going on? I sold 500 of these and my return rate was like 1 or 2%. It was really, really good. And they said, your return rate's above 5%. but they had taken a small sample of the sales. So I think like of the last 170 I sold, there was a 5% return rate. So what they did is rather than give me an opportunity to correct the listing or do anything, they said, we've suspended your product until you take action. A bit drastic.
And you're like, oh, cheers, Amazon.
Yeah, so but thankfully, this is the first time I've come across, but it was an automatic reinstatement. So they said, just pretty much tell us what you've done and then your product will be re-enabled. So all I did is said, look, what I've done is I've changed, I had a dimensions photo. I've moved it from being position 5 in the list to the second in the list, so that people that don't read the listing and actually can actually see it with, with just the smallest amount of effort. And I also moved it up in the bullet points as well. So I just said, look, I believe the issue is because people aren't reading the listing, not in an arsey way, of course. With Amazon, it's like you have to admit fault. Oh yeah, that's it. The customers were unable to see the listings because I'd placed them a bit too low. So I've increased the position so that it should be more legible to the customer. And then that was automatic reinstatement. So that wasn't really drastic, but it was still, the first time was a bit shocking. But the second one, that was with my second product. And there's a video on my channel, I think I made a couple of days after this happened, but it was a Friday night and this product had been launched a few weeks, was flying, like it was selling so well. I was so happy with what it was doing. Got this email, bang, your product's been suspended due to trademark infringement. I'm like,
and you were like, what now?
What of trademark infringement? And this wasn't any auto reinstatement business. This was a case of, right, the email said the same sort of thing. It should tell us what you've done and we'll reactivate your listing. So I think I've covered this in previous videos, but it says in the email, it just says you've been suspended due to trademark infringement, blah, blah, blah. But there's no real useful information. You don't know what trademark you've breached. And the only thing I could find was the email address of the people that complained that said the company was 3M, who are the manufacturers of Velcro. Now, one of my products it doesn't contain Velcro. My product contains hook and loop, is what I have to call it now.
Well done, Darren. You won't get a trademark infringement on this video now.
Yeah, that's it. So because I'd mentioned the word Velcro in the listing, they suspended my product. And so I said to Amazon that my product contained the word Velcro. I've removed this and replaced it with hook and loop, or I think some people call it magic strips. And there's all various different names for Velcro, but hook and loop seems to be the most consistent one. And then they come back and said, no, this isn't enough. Well, actually, they didn't even say that. They said, just sent me pretty much the same thing again. And this time they said they need a plan of action. So the first thing I went onto Google, onto the Amazon forums, trying to find out what a plan of action is and what I need to do. And I ended up writing, honestly, it was an A4 page of text about changing one word. It was unreal. So I did this and it was getting on. It was getting late in the evening. It's like 10, 11 p.m. So I submitted this plan.
This is a Friday night still?
Yeah, Friday night. There's no chance I was going to bed with this going on. So I sent this thing and they come back about half hour. So the response rate was pretty reasonable. They come back within 30 minutes with the same thing. This isn't acceptable. So, okay. So I improved it again, sent it back. It still wasn't acceptable. So I thought, right, I'm going to go to bed. So I went to bed, had gone midnight, laid in bed for about half hour. I said, this isn't working. So I got up about 1 a.m.
Did you?
Working on this plan of action at 1 a.m. because I knew I was never going to sleep all the time this is going around my mind. So I said, look, what I've done, I said I deleted every single product photo. I deleted every single piece of text, every bullet point, and just replaced it. So very quickly, what I did is I uploaded some photos that I decided not to use for my listing. So there's different photos, changed all the text just quickly, one-line paragraphs. So just there was no real information, just enough to say, what the dimensions are, but not in a nice way, just so they could see that the whole listing had changed completely. And I thought it's kind of the nuclear option, just delete everything off the listing.
Yeah, that's quite extreme.
And then submitted it again, and they come back and said, yep, we've reactivated your listing. So the next morning, just restored all the other stuff and good to go. Yeah. So yeah, it was just, I think that was the time for me where it probably was the lowest point where I realized the seller support from Amazon was just so disappointing. And I think that is when I started to reduce my risk to Amazon. I had a lot of money invested, and if you look at some of my videos, I talk about how many products I wanted to launch this year. I wanted to try and launch 10 products, but I've scaled that back now because I wanted to reduce the amount of money I had invested. So I've reduced those targets and reduced the capital that I've got exposed to Amazon, just purely based on that one experience. Kind of, and I've been followed up by other experiences and seeing what other people have had happen to them. That I'm now just a bit more pragmatic about it. Just reduce the risk as much as possible, and be aware that if you do have to deal with seller support, keep emotion out of it. and just expect to be banging your head against a brick wall, and you'll get there eventually. Just like like Jansen said earlier, just be persistent, just go in and don't give up.
I think that's a good point. I mean, I'm not one of these gurus, and you're not one of these gurus that says, like Amazon's absolutely incredible and like you can become a millionaire, put all your money in it. Like, I think like any business, like any investment, you need to be sensible and you need to diversify. It's like last year with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's absolutely flying. You would be mad to put all of your money in to Bitcoin. Like put some in, and it's the same with Amazon. Like, there's no way I would ever put all of my money into Amazon, because at the end of the day, you are playing in their playground. If they suddenly go, we don't like you, you're out, there's nothing you can do. It really wouldn't surprise me. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I woke up, it was a Saturday, I was like, yeah, gonna have a sweet day. My girlfriend's family were here, and I was like, do something nice. And I went on my emails, and as you've said, I saw an email from Amazon, and I went, oh, what now? Product suspension. Straight away, my heart rate triples, and I'm like,
Amazon cardio
now. And I went on it, and standard boilerplate email that says, dear Jansen, we've removed your listing because of the following reasons. And then it just said picture. I'm like, well, what does that mean? So luckily I've got a good understanding of what is and isn't allowed on Amazon. And I thought it might be because I've got like a money back guarantee on my picture. So I took it off, emailed Amazon, and I was thinking, please reply. It's Saturday, I'm missing sales. And like you said, they're pretty good at coming back quickly, even if it is normally just a template response. And they came back and said, we've reactivated it. And then they called me and I said, well, what was the reason? And they said, oh, we don't know. It sometimes happens. I'm like, this is a business here, and you're just like, it sometimes happens. That's not really the answer I was looking for. So definitely getting your product suspended or whatever it is a low, but that's why it's important, I'd say, to have a good knowledge of Amazon's rules and things like that. Make sure that if you are bending a rule, that it's not too much of a
I think the other thing is try to think of it as well from the person on the other end of the email. Obviously, you've got Amazon in the middle with their algorithms and their templates and stuff, but on the other end, there is probably someone, possibly in a third world country, on very low money, dealing with the emails that you're sending through. And there is a website, I'll have to find the link, I might try and drop it in the comments. They did a kind of an expose sort of thing on Amazon and how it all worked. And I think these people in seller performance had 4 minutes per case to action something, and then so they are almost living as much in fear as we are. They don't want to enable a product or give someone approval to then be shot down later, because they've got targets as well. So try and think of it, if you've got 4 minutes to convince someone who probably doesn't speak perfect English, so you need to make your email to them as clear, concise as possible. Show them you made a mistake, show them that you're sorry, show them the actions you've taken to resolve the issue, and then clearly show the actions you're taking to make sure it never, ever happens again. And sometimes, even if you don't feel like you've done anything wrong, you've got to, it's like your false confession. That's the way I try and think of it now, is that I'm trying to please someone at the other end who really is in a similar sort of position to me.
Okay, guys. So the last low, you'll be pleased to know, we've been racking our brains, and this is the last low for us, and it's one of Darren's, and it's been stuck with a product that he can't sell. So fire away.
Yes. So my third product, if you look back through some of my recent videos, you see it went really well, but I got hit by a negative video review. Now, this video review is now at the top of my review. So everyone, for some reason, has gone, this is helpful, and upvoted it to the top. So every time someone comes onto my listing, they see my product and this lady going, this doesn't work. So all of a sudden, my sales just ground to a halt. And it's quite frustrating, because I sold through my first couple of batches. They've been going really well. So in this third batch, I brought in over 1,000 units. So now I'm at the point where I've got over 1,000 units in stock, but my sales have ground to a halt. Thankfully, this is a very low cost product, so it's only probably about £2,200 worth of stock, so it's not the end of the world, but I've had to pretty much reduce them to break-even price, and they're just going to sell through slowly over the next couple of months. just to get them out, and then I'll just move on to a different product.
Yeah.
What I'm also going to trial doing as well, I'm going to try selling these products in Germany, because there should be good demand there. You start off with a fresh listing, so that negative review won't be there. I think the thing that's frustrating though is I always talk about reviews not being everything, but obviously on this listing, that one review has been so detrimental.
It depends how damning it is, doesn't it?
It does, and because my average, yeah, sorry, yeah, my average for this product, I've got over 30, I think I've got 32 reviews, and my average is like 4.6 or 4.7 stars. So I've still got a really good overall score, but that one review is just destroying the listing. And I think I've discussed this before, is that rather than trying to save listings and waste days and days trying to figure out what I can do with this, I'm just going to move on. I'm also going to trial it on a German site. If not, I'll move on and just find other products to launch.
Yeah, I think that's, although I've not had the same experience, I would say if you guys ever do launch a product and it doesn't succeed, then the number one thing that you definitely shouldn't do is give up. Like, think of how many companies out there and entrepreneurs out there that have found a product, they've developed it, and it's just not taken off. And then they've then gone on to making something much bigger. Like, just as an example that comes to the top of my head, like Steve Jobs. So he started with like a Macintosh that definitely didn't have anywhere near as much success as, say, Microsoft, but he kept I suppose learning from his mistakes and improving, and he then went on to launch one of the biggest, well, probably the biggest company in the world. So that's the number one thing that you guys need to do. At the end of the day, we're all entrepreneurs. As part of our DNA, it's just that taking a risk. That's what an entrepreneur is, somebody that takes risks. So unfortunately, things like what's happened to Darren does happen, but the good thing that Darren's able to do is sell the product at break even, which is possible because of the fact that we're getting them so cheaply from China. So that's kind of something that kind of makes it less painful, but you've probably learned a great deal about why the product failed, and you're going to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I think there's two things to cover there. Is one is the reason the product failed. Every product in this niche has the same issue. So this product either works for you or it doesn't.
Yeah.
So I knew from the outset there was always going to be some customers this product would not work for. The problem is some of the big sellers that are selling 100 units, 200 units per day are getting so many 5-star reviews, it's drowned out the 1-stars. So all of these products are pretty much got the same failure rate. It just happened to be that negative review just hit me at exactly the wrong time. If it had been another couple of months in, maybe I had 50 reviews or 100 reviews.
Yeah.
It could have been a different story. It just hit me at just the wrong time. So that was the first thing. And the second thing was about what Jansen said about selling at break even. I get a lot of a lot of followers emailing me, worried about losing all of their money. So they say, I've got £2,000 to invest, and I can't afford to lose it. I think it's fairly safe to say, unless you've got an absolutely terrible product, you should never be a case where you lose all of your money. Now, there might be a case you're selling at break even or selling at a small loss. And that's what's going to happen with this batch. I'll probably sell them at a small loss in the end to clear them through. But I would try to take the mindset that even if things go wrong, you shouldn't lose all of your money. So don't think of it as you're risking everything. You're just risking a percentage of that money that you're investing in the business.
Okay, guys, so hopefully this video hasn't left you feeling too down. If you are looking for a bit of a happiness boost, then make sure that you go over to Darren's channel, because we just did a really good video talking about our highs. Now, one thing that I should point out about this video is don't look at the lows that we've talked about and think, Amazon's a complete waste of time. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, remember that all business models have pros and cons. The thing about Amazon is, yes, it does have its faults, but in my eyes, and I think in Darren's eyes, the benefits certainly outweigh the negatives, and it's just how you react to them, making sure that you don't go in completely blinded by the fact that Amazon has its downfalls. Like, there are some guys out there on YouTube that are just like, yeah, Amazon's incredible, I'm making like £1 million a year, and in my view, they're not being transparent, and they're not making you guys aware that it's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it and there would be no opportunity. So you've got to see it as a filtering, like a filtering exercise. So 1,000 people start doing Amazon and they come across the first like down, negative or something like that, and then they drop off. And then the next batch of people, say that's reduced to 800, come across something else and drop off. You've got to be that person that never drops off, and that sees these like stumbling blocks as just ways that you can learn and improve. And I promise you, if you do that, if you can get past all the negatives of Amazon, you'll be able to enjoy all of the highs that Darren and I spoke about in his video. So that's a nice little round off. If you haven't seen the video, make sure you go to Darren's channel and watch it, and just watch all of his other videos on his channel. He's got some superb content.
Thank you.
If you have enjoyed this video, you're new to the channel, please do remember to subscribe, and you can post a comment in the comment section below, and make sure you come and join us in the Amazon FBA Smashers group on Facebook. We've got nearly 2,000 people in there now that all want to help each other succeed and absolutely smash it. So hopefully see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.